Swiyan gunan anyatra adadhati iti upadi. Upasamipe. Staying near stitva swiyan gunan, its own properties, anyatra adadhati, transfers it to something else, iti upadi. So the famous example in our Shastra is this crystal and a flower. Okay? Now, what does this crystal represent? Atma. This flower is upadi. Upadi also means in English conditioning. Conditioning, limiting agent. Now, when you put this flower near the crystal, what color is the crystal becoming? Orange. But is it really orange?
No.
Actually, and does anything actually happen to the crystal? Can the flower color the crystal? Nothing can happen to it, right? In the same way, Atma is like this crystal. It's already pure. It's already pure. But because of the proximity of the body, mind, and intellect, we feel as though we are the body, mind, and intellect. Just as though this crystal appears as though it's orange because of the flower, Atma appears as though the doer, the enjoyer, the seer, because of these upadis. So this is what happens with upadi. Staying near its properties, it transfers onto something else, but without affecting it actually. So our upadis are this body, mind, and intellect. And when we look at space, you can't actually divide space if you think about it. This whole ashram has so much space, isn't it? But outside you call that hall space. Inside you call this temple space. You call that parking lot space. It's all space, space, space. But can you divide space? Can anybody divide it? When we talk in Vedanta, I'm glad this Katori's here. So this is Katori space, right? And total space. Instead of pot space and total space. I'm sure you heard of this example. Pot space and total space. Can the pot limit space? Can the pot break the space? I'm saying this is pot space. I'm saying this is total space, but can this pot break the space? Can it cut the space in half? Can it even do anything to the space? In fact, in and through this pot, there is space, isn't it? So what is making me feel like space is conditioned is the conditioning, this pot. But space can never be broken. Now, like space, think about consciousness. Pure consciousness, awareness. Can that be broken? If space, which is so subtle, can't be broken, how can consciousness be broken by this body? How can it be broken? I feel like I have my own Atma, you have your own Atma, you have your own Atma, because we feel like this gross body can limit consciousness. But if this gross body can't even limit space, what to talk of consciousness? This body can't limit space because in and through this body there is space. So how can consciousness be limited? But it feels like though it's limited because of these things. The feel of the temple space is different from the feel of the hall space, from the feel of the parking lot space. So just as space can't actually be divided, in the same way, consciousness can never be divided. So what does this mean? I was never broken. Consciousness was never broken. It means we are actually all one. It's not that we're in conscious. It's not that consciousness is in us. We're in consciousness. We are all together in consciousness. It can't be divided, it can't be broken. Something so subtle like space, nothing can happen. How do you think anything can happen to consciousness? Who's creating the limitations? We're creating it. Who's putting the forms? We're putting it. Who's putting the names? We're putting it. But nothing actually happens to space. That's how Akasha is the same as Rishikesha. Now look at it as in relation to yours and my life. In a practical sense, you and I are actually limitless. We have infinite possibilities. But what limits us? Labels, isn't it? When people put labels in us, we who have so much potential, we get bound. For example, children have infinite potential, but when we say, oh, you're supposed to only be a doctor or a business person, gets bound. We have infinite potential, but when somebody calls us old, we feel like, oh, we can't do something because somebody called us old. If somebody calls us young, we feel like, oh, we can't think wisely or we can't be mature because somebody calls us that. If somebody calls us tall, we feel like, oh, we have, nobody will be with us because we're too tall. In the shadi.com ad, nobody wants anybody too tall. If we're too short, nobody wants anything. Nobody wants to be with us. Who limits us and what limits us are these labels. So in a practical sense, we're creating our own limitations. The minute we tell ourselves, I don't need to be limited by this. Just because you're Tamil doesn't mean you have to be a Tamilian, do whatever a Tamilian does. Just because you're a woman doesn't mean that you typically live up to how a woman lives up to. Just because you're a man doesn't either. We're putting that in us. The same way that we put those conditions in space. But really nothing can divide. So there's only one Atma. So we should never think, is there many spaces? Did you ever hear somebody saying there's many spaces? Isn't that absurd? So how do you say there's many consciousnesses? That's equally absurd. So yatha kashaha, just like space, rishikeshaha, can't be divided. But we feel it nana upadi gata because of these conditionings. And tannashe, when the conditionings are destroyed, what do you mean by the conditionings are destroyed? Means I understand that this is actually false. I understand that this body, this mind, this intellect is actually false. What do you mean by false? Means its existence is dependent on me and not I on them. False means something that has dependent existence. So their existence is depending on me, not I on them. Then, kevalaha bhaved. Kevalaha, this word I explained to you last time. If you remember, sajatiya, vijatiya, swagata, bhedarahita. Means it doesn't have any differences of sajatiya, same species, different species within the species. It's just kevala. So even when there's spot space and total space, they're one. Even when it appears that there are two, they're one. So consciousness is always one and manyness is an illusion. Now he's going to go further into this thought of how manyness is an illusion. So verse number 11. Nanupadhivashadeva Jati varnashamadayah Atmanyaropitasto ye रसवर्णादिभेदवत् ज्ञानोपाधिवशादेव जातिवर्णाश्रमादयः आत्मन्यारोपितास्तो ये रसवर्णादिभेदवत्. Nana upadi. So now you know what upadi means, conditioning. Nana, many conditionings. Nana upadi vashat eva, because of the association of many conditionings, jati varna ashrama dayaha. Jati, species. Varna, color. Ashrama, station. Adi, etc. Atmani, aropita. Aropitaha. They are superimposed on Atma. Just like how toye in water, rasa varna di bheda vata. Rasa, taste, varna, color are superimposed on water. What does this mean? The whole karma kanda, the whole aspect of dharma takes into account upadis. All that it's dealing with, see, Vedanta has 2-step sadhana. 1-step sadhana is I have to make my upadis as pure as possible. Healthy body, pure mind, brilliant intellect. Is focused solely on the upadis. 2nd step of sadhana, I am beyond the upadis. This is Vedanta in a nutshell. So why are we prescribing dharma? Why is it based on jati, varna, ashrama? Is for us to purify. So when we, if there's a question that comes up, how come you keep preaching Advaita, and you talk about oneness, but you're prescribing so many differences? And even in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna said, I'm the one who created this varna. And sometimes you think, how come you be Vedantin when you're creating all these differences? You're saying this Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. You're saying Brahmachari, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyasi. You're saying all of these. You're saying Jati. Why are you creating all of this? We're creating all of this Jati so that we can purify it because we're so highly identified with it. And it's for transactional purposes only. But at the end, Atma is that which even transcends Jati, Varna and Ashrama. What are Jati? Species, right? So there are apparently 83 lakh yonis. 83 lakh different yonis, apparently. But now just imagine, one of those yonis is Devata. And how many crores of Devata? 33 crores of Devata. So 83 lakh yonis, and in one yoni there's 33 crore. So you could just imagine the variety of species. What does Jati do? Jati tells us where and how we can be. Human beings live in a home. Birds live in trees. Animals, depending if they're domesticated or not, live in the house or live in the forest. So Jati will functionally place us to where we're supposed to be, to where we can best evolve. If you notice, animals are placed where they can best evolve. So are humans placed where we can best evolve. For those who can take the cold climate, they're placed there. For those who can take the hot climate, then they come somewhere else. So we are all placed where we can best evolve. Varna. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. This is dependent on what? On the guna. On the texture of one's mind. So why this is there? This is also there for evolution. Because if I'm a more sattvic personality, then I should engage in the karma that is predominantly sattvic, which is going for a doctor, teacher, guidance, or visionary. I should be engaged in that. If I am more rajasic personality and I have some sattva, then I should engage in a kshatriya kind of karma. I should lead, I should delegate, I should manage, I should do all of these kinds of things. If I have tamasic and rajasic, then I am on the Vaishya. Then I should engage in collecting money, bringing resources together, putting everybody together. And if I am a supporter, if that's my personality, that maybe I'm not ready to lead others, but I'm ready to support, then I should engage in doing menial tasks and helping people, right? So this concept again of ashrama is there for all of us to evolve in our own places. Wherever we are best fit, that's how we evolve. Same as ashrama. Depending on whatever ashrama I'm in, that's how I evolve. Best. If I'm in brahmacharya, that's what I should follow. If I'm in grahastha, that's what I should follow, etc. So all of these are put there so that we can purify ourselves. But then after that, we should understand that we are to go beyond all of this. Like when some people sit at the seat of meditation, in Kaivalya Upanishad, there's a mantra that even when you're seated at the seat of meditation, you have to go beyond all your varnas and ashramas. You have to go drop everything and sit as though you are Atma. Atma is that which doesn't have any varna and ashrama. So the way differences are put into water, so too differences are put into Atma. Superimposed on Atma. What differences are superimposed in water? Water has some kind of taste, but you can pretty much put anything in water, right? Water is colorless and you can pretty much put anything into water. Like that, into that pure Atma, all of these identities are superimposed. So, what are the differences in life? The differences in life are actually to come to sameness. Differences are just on the outside, but inside we're all the same. So how can I tactically apply this, or how can I put this into practice is, how do you know if there's a conflict between two people? When they focus on the differences and not on the sameness. So in life, it's not like we're going to like everybody. We will have likes and dislikes all the time. But what we must do is try to find that string which ties us all together, which keeps us the same, and focus on that. For example, in running an ashram, so many people have so many points of view. But if we all we all have that vision for it to grow and develop, leave everything aside, we'll succeed. In a family, so many differences are there between mother, father, kids, so many differences. But if I'm focused that all of us should evolve and we tie everything together in that, then it will be fine. So whenever we start focusing on the similarities, then we get along. But when we focus on the differences, that's when we battle. Differences are meant for efficiency, for one to purify. As I said, whatever location we're in, it's to purify. Gurudev has one beautiful quote saying that, stay where you are. The Almighty never made a mistake in His infinite consciousness to put you where you are. Which is really beautiful, because it means where we are is where we're meant to evolve. Whatever ashrama we're in is where we're meant to evolve. Whatever varna we're in is where we're meant to evolve. And if we just understand that these differences are just for that purpose, to help us evolve to the fact that we are all the same, then it's okay. But sometimes in Sanatana Dharma, people get too caught up in this. You're Brahmana, you're Shudra, you're Vaishya. People get too caught up in the Jati, Varna, Ashrama, that they don't come to the essence of it. They stick on the differences and they don't come to the similarities. This is called half-baked spirituality or half-baked religion, when people just focus on that, but not on that similarity. So when we have different religions, what should be the focus? What makes us the same? Everywhere we go, the best way to agree to develop a relationship with anybody is what makes us the same. That's why namaste, right? I salute the divinity in you. What makes you and I the same? Focus on that. And you and I will get along with the person instantly. So this is what it means. All of these are superimposed in Atma, but nothing, you can see nothing happens to Atma. Now it's going to go into what are these upadis? You keep talking about these upadis, these conditionings. What are these conditionings exactly? So now the thought flow will be to go into the conditionings that are superimposed on Atma. And if you were here for AtmaBodha, this is a AtmaBodha review. Okay? So verse number 12. Panchīkrita mahabhuta Sambhavam karma sanchitam Shariram sukha dukkhanam Bhogayatanam uchyate Panchīkrita mahabhuta Sambhavam karma sanchitam Shariram sukha dukkhanam Bhogayatanam uchyate. So now AtmaBodha should come back to life. It's resurrected, it's gone somewhere inside, now bring it back to life. Panchīkrita mahabhuta. Remember this? Panchīkarana, the process of grossification. Sambhava, born from the process of grossification. Karma sanchitam, born out of karma. Sharira is this body. Sukha dukkhanam bhogayatanam. It is the counter for experience of sukha dukkha. It's the counter. So what does it mean? Do you remember the process of Panchīkarana? Yes? No? I'll tell you in brief, just to kindle that memory. If you remember, in AtmaBodha, we had Brahma Ashraya, Maya, right? So Maya's Ashraya is Brahman. Maya's support is Brahman. And then we had those 24 things, right? And we had the birth of the entire world. How did the world come about according to AtmaBodha? Now remember, as I told you, the world is an apparent reality. In AtmaBodha, there's a different description for how the world came about. But if you go to another book, there's going to be a different description. So you shouldn't say, how come AtmaBodha said this and how come this other book said this? Because it's an apparent reality. From Maya came the 5 elements. What are the 5 elements? Akasha, then Vayu, then Agni, then Apaha, and Prithvi. Space, air, fire, water, earth, right? And then what happens is they started forming different things. Maya, is Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. Maya, from Maya came space, from space came air, air came fire, fire, water, water, earth. Now these are what you call Tan Matras. Tan Matras, which means they're in their pure subtle form. Subtle elements means they cannot be perceived by the senses. So they're still subtle. So from these subtle elements, what was born? From the sattvic subtle elements, what were born? The Jnanendriyas. Do you remember? The Jnanendriyas. Faculty of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. From the complete sattvic aspect, what was born? Antakarana. Mana, Buddhi, Chitta, Ahankara. From the individual rajasic aspects. What were born? Karmendriyas. Faculty of grasping, faculty of moving, faculty of speech, excretion, reproduction. From the samashti rajasic aspect, what was born? Pranas. Prana, apana, vyana, udana, samana. Remember? Then what happens is the elements grow through this process of grossification. Panchikarana, making it into 5. Where you take space and you half it. So half of space, 1/8 of air, 1/8 of fire, 1/8 of water, 1/8 of earth. And that's your panchikarana, making it gross. And you take this and you apply it to all the other elements. So if you see in your book, this process of panchikarana comes on page 37. Right? So if you look at page 37, stage 1, the tanmatras, the subtle elements, are each in itself. Stage 2, they split into equal parts. Stage 3, split complete. Stage 4, 1/2 remains intact and splits into 4. And stage 5, each half combines with 4 borrowed parts. Is it clear? Yes? So as a result, you will get 1/2 space, 1/8 air, 1/8 fire, 1/8 water, 1/8 earth. So this is called Panchikarana. So what is the upadana or material cause of the body? What is the cause of the body? 5 elements. 5 elements grossified forms this body. So if you look at your body, if you remember AtmaBodha, I told you about how can we understand that this body is 5 elements? Let's say you're outside. Is there space in this body? That we can feel. There's space in this body. Is there air in this body? Yes. We burp all the time, right? Do all kinds of things. There's air. Is there fire in this body? Digestive fire. Aham vaishvanaro bhutva. Is there water in this body? For sure, about 70%. Is there earth in this body? Yes. So this gross body is nothing but 5 elements. This is all it is. This is the material cause. What is the efficient cause? So I know this body is the 5 elements, but why do I have the kind of body I have? How come I'm not tall? How come I'm short? Or how come I'm dark and I'm not fair? How come I'm a man and not a woman? How come I have a kind of body that I have? Because of my prarabdha karma. That is your nimitta karana, your efficient cause. So your body has 2 causes. Cause of the body is, number 1, material cause is the 5 elements. Efficient cause of the body is my prarabdha karma. So we should never ask why I got this body. This body was given as part of my karma. Now, when it says bhoga ayatana, bhoga ayatana means the function of this body is it's my permanent address, right? If you give your, when you have to fill out a form, you have to fill out permanent address. And if you give your home address, you're not always there, right? Sometimes you're not always there. But where are you always? In this body. Means if anybody wants to contact you, they will have to come to this body. They may go to your house, you won't be there. They may go to your office, you won't be there. They may call your phone, you won't pick up. But if they come to this body, for sure, they will find you. So its function is bhoga ayatana. It's a counter for experiencing the world. What is the dharma of this body? If you remember from AtmaBodha, what is the dharma? Dharma means the essential property of a thing, that which makes a thing what it is. What's the dharma of this body? Asti jayate, vardhate, viparinamate, apakshiyate, vinashyate. Which means the dharma of the body is birth, growth, maturity, decay, and death. Which means that's what the body is supposed to do. So if the body is growing old, am I supposed to fret? Angam, galitam, palitam, mondam, all of these things, if these things are happening, am I supposed to fret? No, that's the dharma of the body. That's what the body's supposed to do. Just like if you put a bunch of apples there, in a couple of days, if you don't eat them, they'll rot. That's the dharma of the apple. Same thing is the dharma of the body. It's meant to do that. So this is what is the body. And what are the parts of the body? You have heads, shoulders, arms, legs, etc. This in its entirety makes up the gross body. This is the first upadi that we have to deal with. And it's going from the grossest to the subtlest. Why? Because my attention is mainly on the gross. Now when we go into describing all the upadis, don't forget why we're doing it. Why are we doing it? Because we want to transcend it. We want to know what upadi this is so we can transcend it. Remember, the body is it's a gift. It is a gift. But what makes it not so much a gift is when we over-identify, when we fascinate about it too much, when we ruminate about it too much. It's a real gift from Bhagavan to realize the truth. But the point of the body is to get me to realize I'm not the body. That's where I have to come to. This is called gross body or sthula sharira. Right? Now, we covered the next upadi. Sukshma sharira. This will be easier because you already know that. Pancha prana mano buddhi. Pancha prana mano buddhi. Dashendriya samanvitam. Dashendriya samanvitam. Apanchikrita bhutotham. Apanchikrita bhutotham. Sukshmangam bhoga sadhanam. Sukshmangam bhoga sadhanam. Pancha prana mano buddhi. Dashendriya samanvitam. Apanchikrita bhutotham. Sukshmangam bhoga sadhanam. So here we go to the next layer of the upadi, which is sukshma sharira. Again, sukshma or subtle means it can't be perceived by senses. So here, what is the material cause of the sukshma sharira? The material cause is the 5 elements, but not 5 gross elements, 5 subtle elements. So, 5 subtle elements, apanchikrita bhutotam. The first sthula sharira was panchikrita bhutotam. This is